No, I left it at Whole Foods. I bought a muffin there before the meeting. I got the receipt here. I'm sorry. Yeah. Use your retentive powers, your regenerative powers, and the spirit we got from Elizabeth's speech to evaluate me to the best of your ability. That's all I ask. And I compare with you this ribbon. Ladies and gentlemen, unlike Sherry's journey that took us to Belize and Pittsburgh, my journey takes you 310 yards from here. Whole Foods, Sherman Oaks. I was just there, so I tracked it on my iPhone. It's true. And at Whole Foods, Sherman Oaks, the place I hang out frequently, as you heard in that beautiful introduction, I was at the hot food bar. It's $8.49 per pound. I overheard this gentleman, about age 27. It's kind of the typical Whole Foods guy, 27, kind of a scruffy beard, wearing short pants, even so it was that really cold day last week. And he was talking to someone next to him, and it was fascinating. He was explaining how to pick the foods that weigh the least but taste the best, because the challenge is to get the most you can for the $8.49. So, of course, me being an accountant and thrifty, I was just fascinated. So I was eavesdropping. And all of a sudden, I heard that phrase that Ronnie said. He lamented, if I could afford to shop at Whole Foods, I would be here every day for lunch and dinner for that hot food bar, and then the salad bar also for $8.49. I had to leave because you just can't eavesdrop forever. Eventually they're going to figure out, because I wasn't ordering anything, I was just buying. So I went on my way, I checked out the vitamins, and I thought I'd gotten it out of my head. But all of a sudden I was looking at the vitamins, there was this one bottle of 60-somethings, and it was $44.40. And I thought to myself, if I had what the guy said, if I had all the money in the world, maybe I would just try that vitamin. I mean, definitely would try that cream. I would buy a whole pound, Elizabeth. I mean, if I had that much money. It's obvious. Yeah. And I don't even take vitamins. And I had the same thought with the cashews, Whole Foods, some cashews that are $18 a pound. Well, I left the store and thought, I really, this is fascinating, but where's it going to get me? Then I thought, this could be a great speech at Toastmasters. So I thought, I'll do a little research. That's what Cole does for his speech, just do a little research. And I thought I'd ask my relatives, my brother, my cousin, and my niece is 13, and she's a lot of friends, so I thought that'd be the perfect question. If you had all the money in the world, what would you do at Whole Foods? What would you buy? I first asked my niece, who's 13. She got all excited and talked all really fast and said, I would do this, I would do blah, 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 blah. And fascinating, all of a sudden she slowed down, and the wheels were spinning in her head. And she uttered these phrases, well, I actually can't eat any more than I eat now, and I don't think I would change. It was amazing. My niece is so smart. And I asked some of her friends, and they said the same thing. They were just all excited. They say this one was a vegetarian, and then she said she would actually buy steaks because her dad's not a vegetarian, which I thought was really magnanimous and showing that she loves her father. But I asked my brother, my cousin, and they all said the same thing. They were just fascinated with the prospect of going through Whole Foods, buying anything you could, no matter how much money. And then they realized, I pretty much can't eat any more than I do now. And they would just be a little bewildered. But here I am. I'm going to set it straight for you. Guess what? I'm not the youngest guy here. When I grew up, the life expectancy was not that high. In fact, in the developing countries, if you add all 16 together, we now live 20 years longer than we did when I was a wee lad. Why, you ask me that? Yes, thank you. Thank you for the crowdsourcing. 3 reasons, Yvette. Number 1, we eat a lot better. We go to Whole Foods. We don't eat junk like we did in the 60s and 70s, especially you guys that haven't been here. Of course. So we eat better. We have access to medical care. Some of us do. I talked to you about my new Kaiser renewal, but we don't have time for that. And we exercise more. Yvette, you're always exercising, right? She's just being modest. She's always exercising. We all exercise more, so that's pretty much the whole holy trinity of why we live so much longer these days. Activity, exercise, access to medical care, and good food. So there you go. And here's Whole Foods. And obviously, we all can't buy everything in the freaking store. And obviously, as you just heard, you really don't want to buy everything in the store. So here's what you need to do. You need to prioritize. I've mentioned this before in one of my speeches, that I unfortunately go to Starbucks or Pete's or Coffee Bean every day, multiple times. And let's just say I spent $10 a day. I probably spend more. That's $3,600 a year. Non-nutritional filtered water and terrible cookies. Melissa, if you want to see what the competition's like, go to Starbucks. They suck. So there you go. I, thrifty man, cheap guy, waste $3,600 a year on frivolous stuff like coffee. Imagine if I channeled my funds and my energy, how much better I could eat. And I'm sure each one of you have vices such as the $3,600 a year coffee habit. Maybe you spend your money on hair care products or cream. So, imagine how much an attractive woman could spend in a year if she doesn't rein in those funds. So we all have these vices. So remember those three things: longevity, activity, access to medical care. You want to live as long as you can. You just focus, and focus. Ronnie, take me out of here. Let's do that right.
That was a mistake.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, sit down.